Hello everyone, welcome to a new series I want to do every week. I call it Rating Comics, which means I'm going to give every newly released comic I buy a grade. Any book I buy from the week could receive an A, B, C, or even an F. Hopefully I don't pick up too many Fs, but you never know. So essentially, you can consider these mini reviews. Also to note, I will only be grading the newly released comics for said week. I won't grade any back issues or reprints like the True Believers line from Marvel that I sometimes buy. Obviously, I can't buy every new book of the week, but I try to buy a decent amount. There are some I wish I picked up, but oh well. So since I've been buying so many books, I felt like I just want to give these books a grade. Most of the books will be DC and Marvel. I love superhero comics more than any other genre of comics. Some weeks there will be a few books from other publishers like Image or maybe even IDW. Maybe. But this week I do actually have a couple from Image. But since the main focus is always DC versus Marvel, I will add that element here as well. I will compare how many books I got from each company, but also which side gets the higher grade. And depending on that, I will know which company won the week for me. I'm going to start from the lowest grade and up. Fortunately, I didn't pick up any books that received an F. So let's just start at the next lowest. Here are the books that I gave a C. Justice League of America, number 26. Okay, let's start with this book here. I like the artwork. I do, and I loved the cover. The cover is the main reason why I even picked up the book. It looked so cool seeing Black Canary and Batman like they were fighting. I was like, what the hell is going on here? But to be honest, I wasn't keeping up with the JLA series. But I had to start somewhere. But unfortunately, I really have no idea what's going on. It looks like I picked a bad issue to start with. There is a lot of action, but since this is a conclusion to an arc, it's impossible for me to know what's going on. I would have to read the past issues, but just from going off this alone, it never really immersed me. So I really can't see myself picking up the past issue or the later issues of the JLA. The artwork is really good, but the book is sadly just not for me. It didn't do it for me. Next we have The Despicable Deadpool, number 296. This is an odd book. The whole book is just Captain America fighting Deadpool for some reason, which I'm not quite aware of yet. All the while, Deadpool keeps making Captain America look bad in front of people. Captain America ends up being forced to stab Deadpool with his own sword, but then he finds out he did it in front of a bunch of kids, and the kids are like, why is Captain America stabbing somebody? And then he even hits a guy he thought was Deadpool in front of a crowd of people. But the guy only had his mask on. At every turn, Captain America is looking like shit with the public. Now, just like JLA number 26, I haven't read the previous issues. But unlike JLA 26, I do want to read the next one. While I did give The Despicable Deadpool 296 a C, there is something here that caught my interest. The artwork is nice, the banter between the two was pretty fun, and I do like Captain America. And Deadpool is an okay character. It's hard for me to pinpoint why it didn't really get higher than a C, like what about it didn't make me raise it. Because the book is okay, but it's just not as good as I would have hoped. And next up on our list, we have Action Comics 999. Do I like Superman? Yes. Am I interested in Action Comics in general and Action Comics 1000? Yes. Is this a good book? Kind of. Look, okay, the artwork is good and parts of the story are interesting, but most of the book consists of Lois Lane and her father arguing about if Superman is a threat or not. It's not really all that compelling. For an action comic, there seems to be very little action. There is a small part where Superman releases Cyborg Superman from the Phantom Zone and they fight for a bit before Superman puts him in another prison that's supposedly friendlier than the Phantom Zone. To be honest, it's kind of boring. The cover looks awesome, but it's a shame that nothing like this happens in the book. The cover shows Superman getting shot by the military, and it says in the corner, "The Fury of General Lane," which doesn't end up with with him sending the military to fight Superman, but rather just Lois and her dad arguing about Superman. It's the small bit of action that was here is okay, and the story was kind of interesting, but overall it's really lacking, so a C feels very appropriate. Next up is Detective Comics 976. Okay, I don't know what to say about this one. The Batman family is still dealing with what Batwoman did to Clayface. The first half of the issue seems to be mostly flashbacks and therapy sessions. The second half is mainly just Robin and Batman arguing like always. Artwork, as usual, looks pretty damn good, and the action scenes are fun and they're drawn very well. But I don't know what it is, I'm just having a hard time getting into this comic. This was originally going to be a B, but when I tried to read it again, I was having a hard time doing so. I don't know. So, I don't know what it is. The ending kind of has a cliffhanger ending that I don't mind, and I think I will get number 977, but it's just weird. But since I just couldn't read it again and really be that interested into it, I feel I have to give it a C. It has some good parts, but again, it just falls flat for me. Next up, we have a book from Image, and it's Versus number 2. When I read the first issue of Versus, I was pretty confused. There was so much going on at one time. It's hard to follow. All I knew for sure was that it had a good artwork and the action was pretty damn badass. Plus, I like the concept of space gladiators. That works. Versus number 2 is no different. I'm still pretty lost, but it would seem like they are treating the battles like sporting events, and players seem to have their own individual approval ratings by fans. Again, art is great. The action is really good, but since I feel like I get lost while reading it, because there's so much shit going on at one time, I can't give the book anything higher than a C. I wish the storytelling was more clear, and one thing I would actually wish for is that the storytelling would slow down a bit and take a bit more time to explain the characters and the world. It all just kind of throws it at you and just expects it to stick. Or maybe it does for some people, but I can't seem to get a full grasp of it. I will most likely get issue 3 and see if I can finally get a firm hold on what's going on. I never thought I would want an awesome action comic to slow down. Okay, so we are now done with the books that got a C. So now let's get to the books that were good enough to earn a grade of B. What's more fitting for a B than Bonehead number 3? Bonehead has a very interesting world. Art is great, and the character designs are very compelling. I like them. I love the Boneheads. Their outfits are awesome looking. It would make a great Halloween costume, and looking at it now, it kind of reminds me of my character design for this channel. Bonehead number 3 continues right where issue 2 leaves off, with 56 following the guy with the pumpkin mask back to his lair with his group. Sorry, I forgot that guy's name. He meets a guy named Tyrant. He is the King of Kings, which is like their gang, and he's the leader of them. There was a legendary bonehead named Black Death, and they all think 56 is Black Death. But as the reader, we know he's not. Most of the second half of the book is mainly 56 and Tyrant playing a game where you have to hold the ball the longest. It reminds me of a game type in Halo where you had to hold the skull and run around all over the place and hold it the longest to win. I forgot what it was called. Meanwhile, Black Death has run into someone and looks like he's going to need backup. And that's going to lead into the next issue. Again, all in all, it's a fun book with fun action. I'm usually not into comics that aren't a part of the superhero genre, but Bonehead has been pretty good so far. I'm really enjoying Bonehead. Bonehead's world and characters feel perfect for a video game. I would love to have one. Next up, we have Flash number 42. I have been enjoying the last few issues of The Flash, especially this arc with Gorilla Grodd, and while this one is still good technically, it isn't as interesting as the previous issues. It mainly focuses on Barry trying to get his powers back, but there is a much more sinister plan hatching here by Gorilla Grodd. I love how the issue ended, and it's got me really excited for the next one. I'm liking this arc, but this issue is the weakest to me, but not weak enough for me not to still enjoy it. It's just a really solid book. It's not an amazing book, it's just solid, with some nice twists and turns. Seriously, if you haven't been reading The Flash, you should start thinking about doing that now. Next up, we have Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, number 301. Okay, I saw Diversity in Comics review of this one, and to be honest, I don't agree with him for the most part. I enjoyed this one. It was fun seeing Spider-Man go back in time to recruit his younger self. I could tell me and Diversity in Comics read some of these lines very differently. He reads young Peter like he was a young idiot. When I read his lines, I had more of a real take on it. Like, I heard it differently in my head. Maybe he's right. I don't get the sense that he was getting. I like JJ's interaction with his younger self. Let's face it, JJ has always been a fun character. Teresa, on the other hand, is the one thing I do agree with Diversity in Comics. She sucks. She's so flat. She has no depth to her personality. But I also found it pretty fun seeing Spider-Man take down villains like Doc Ock and the Green Goblin with ease. Sure, when it comes to artwork, there are some issues that I have with it at parts, but most of it looks like, it's not amazingly detailed, but it looks okay for what it's trying to show about the original Spider-Man comics. I don't really see what he hated here. He's entitled to his own opinion, but I enjoy this one, and I'm ready for issue 302. Next up on our list, we have Marvel 2-in-1, The Thing and the Human Torch number 4. So far, this has been a pretty damn good series. The dialogue between the Thing and the Human Torch has always been great throughout history, and in this issue, they're finally jumping off into a different universe, hoping to find Reed and Sue. Or at least that's what the Human Torch thinks. The moment you get to that other universe and you see Wolverine, I was like, fuck yeah. And seeing him fuck up the Human Torch, that's always nice. But this universe is pretty much in the shithole. I don't want to say too much about what happens, but let's just say this Earth might truly be alone in the universe. This Earth is not in a very good place right now, thanks to Doctor Doom. The action was nice, the dialogue and humor were fitting, and the ending definitely has me intrigued. So yeah, good book, and I'm ready for number 5. Okay, that's it for the section of comics that got a B. So now let's get to the comics I enjoyed the most. Here are the books that got an A from me. Our first book with an A is Ben Reilly, The Scarlet Spider, number 15. Okay, this one is really good in my opinion. This story is tying into the Doctor Strange Damnation books, which I haven't read, but I might pick them up just to get more of a grasp of what's going on here. But the book really had me interested. The part where Ben is talking to this supposed little girl and she is trying to explain to him what is going on and what he must do. But since her employers took his Aunt Jane, after he finishes talking to her, he punches her across the room. This made me just burst out laughing. Don't worry, she is not really a little girl. Spider-Man won't beat up little kids. Shortly after that, people are starting to turn into demons, and Ben Reilly has to try to stop them. But he knows he needs to pack a little bit more heat, so he decides to go all Rob Liefeld with guns and pouches. The ending really has me hooked for the next issue. I even liked the little Easter egg of Link from Breath of the Wild. I wasn't expecting that. The action is great, the humor is funny, the story is intriguing. I honestly wasn't expecting to like it this much, but yeah, I did. It deserves an A, and I can't wait for issue 16. Next up, we have Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, number 40. I don't know what happened in the previous issues, but man, is this book all action. From start to end, the Green Lantern Corps, led by Kyle Rayner, are going all out on Zod and his group. The fight is back and forth, but since I haven't read the past issues, I don't really know why, and also I don't know why it would seem that Hal Jordan is trapped inside of his ring. This is why it's good to read from the start of an arc, not near the ending. I like how the book ends, and I'm looking forward to the next issue for a specific reason. The art and dialogue was great. I loved all the fighting. It was really cool to see Zod's forces and the Green Lanterns just going back and forth at it. It's so awesome. The action is what made me give this book an A. For me, it earned it with ease. And last but not least is The Punisher 222. Seeing the Punisher in the War Machine suit has been a blast. It never gets tiring to see Frank Castle just killing scumbags left and right. Plus, he has a lot of funny one-liners. There's a part where these ex-S.H.I.E.L.D. members are going to capture the Punisher, and they all agree that this will look good on their resume, and they tell the camera guys to make sure they get this on camera when they capture him. Then all of a sudden, Frank puts some plastic explosives on one of the man's faces, and his head explodes. And then Frank says, "Think the camera's got that?" Oh man, that made me laugh. That made me just burst out in laughter far too much. I love The Punisher. This book just has a lot of what I wanted. Lots of action and gruesome deaths. I really like the style of the art in this book. I just want to read the next issue already. I'm really enjoying this one, and it easily deserved an A. I knew I was giving this book an A before I even got halfway through with it. It's a really fun book and series. So next time you see The Punisher War Machine, go pick it up. It's a really good book. Okay, so that was all the newly released books I picked up for the week of March 14th. So according to the numbers in the fight for Marvel vs. DC, in total, not including the Image books, I picked up 5 for DC and 5 for Marvel. So they are tied in that aspect. But when it comes to grades, DC has 3 books that I gave a C, and Marvel has 1. So yeah, not starting good for DC this week. When it comes to B's, DC has 1 and Marvel has 2. So still not looking good for DC, not at all. Obviously, A's are the best you can get, and DC was only able to get 1, and Marvel was able to pull through and get 2. So yeah, sadly for DC Comics, they lose this week. Marvel wins. Congratulations. Marvel had more A's and more B's than DC had. The only thing DC beat Marvel on were the C books, and you don't want to win the C book lists. Now, there may have been other books for DC that I didn't get that could have got A's. I don't know. But there also could have been other Marvel books that could have got A's that I didn't get. So yeah, it doesn't really change anything. But hey, who knows how DC will fare next week? Anything can happen. Okay, so that's it for now. I'll see you guys again on Wednesday for my next pickup, and I'll see you again after that for the grades for those books as well. If you guys enjoyed it, please like the video. Every like helps out. If you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe to see all the other videos I'm going to be working on. If you want to recommend certain comics that I didn't pick up, you can tell me in the comments, and I'll see if I get in those next time or what. So if you like comic books, if you like horror films, and if you like video games, you might want to subscribe, because everything I do is all about that stuff. Horror films, like horror movie reviews, video games, video game reviews, or just talking about video games, or showing what books I get, and also reviewing the books now. So if you like that, I hope you guys come back. I hope to see you guys again, but make sure you guys stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys next time.